Ever get that feeling like you're kind of missing out on a secret code? When you're listening to native English speakers, it's like they're speaking a whole other language almost.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, get ready, because today we're going to crack that code.
All right.
We're diving deep into English colloquialisms, those super informal words and phrases that give the language its color and personality,
It's true.
So, think of it as learning the secret handshake to a really cool club.
Exactly. It's like you're in the know.
Totally. And we've got this awesome job, English colloquialisms, 24 words you need to know, to help us along the way.
Nice.
So get ready to not just understand these words, but to actually use them.
Yes.
Confidently in your own conversations.
Yeah.
Sound more like a native speaker.
Absolutely. Consider this your crash course.
Okay, so before we jump into the nitty-gritty, like the actual words themselves, can you tell us, why are colloquialisms so important in the first place? I mean, couldn't we all just, stick to those formal grammar rules and call it a day?
Well, yeah, I guess you could, but you'd sound a bit, I don't know, robotic, maybe?
Right.
Colloquialisms give you that feel for, the natural rhythm and the flow of spoken English, which is super important.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and they're just essential, really, for understanding everyday conversations, especially if you're into things like media, music, travel.
For sure.
Just connecting with native speakers on a more casual level.
It's like the difference between, I don't know, reading sheet music and actually jamming with a band. Right? You get that energy and that spontaneity.
Totally. That's a great way to put it. So are you ready to jump into these 24 colloquialisms and see how they can bring your English to life?
Let's do it. All right. First up, we have gonna, short for, as you probably know, going to, I'm going to grab some coffee. Want anything.
Simple, right.
So straightforward.
Yeah, it's a contraction, which is super common in informal speech. Just want to, and do you want to hang out later? It's all about, making the language flow more smoothly. Sound more natural.
I love that. It's like the linguistic equivalent of wearing comfy clothes.
That's such a good analogy, and it shows how those lines between spoken and written language are blurring,
Definitely.
Especially with things like texting, social media, all that.
So true. Okay, next one on the list. Gimme, short for give me. The guide has this example. Give me a second to grab my jacket.
It's direct, informal, perfect for those casual, everyday conversations.
Right. But maybe not for a job interview, probably.
Yeah. Context is key with this one. You wouldn't use gimme in a formal setting.
Gotcha. All right. How about Lemme, the casual way of saying, let me check my schedule and get back to you. What do you think? Does Lemme feel a bit softer than gimme?
That's a good observation. I think you're right. Gimme is more about asking for something directly.
Yeah.
While Lemme suggests you're kind of offering to do something for the other person. Let me help you with that.
It's interesting, right? That subtle difference in tone.
Absolutely. The intention behind the words.
Totally. Okay, on to Outta, meaning obviously out of, as in I'm out of milk, so I need to go to the store. I feel like I use this one all the time without even thinking about it.
It just rolls off the tongue, right? It's just so natural and efficient, especially when you're speaking. It's like you said, you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah. Now, what about dunno? Short for, I don't know, of course, example. I don't know if I can make it to the party. This one feels pretty universal, wouldn't you say?
I'd say so, yeah. It's used pretty widely, but it's always good to remember that context matters,
True.
If you're chatting with a friend, dunno is perfectly fine. But if you're talking to your boss or professor or someone like that, you might want to stick with, I don't know.
To be on the safe side.
Exactly. It just sounds a little more professional.
Good point. Now, here's a pair that can sometimes trip people up. Kinda and sorta, both meaning kind of or somewhat. The guide gives us these examples. It's kind of cold outside, maybe wear a jacket, and I'm sort of tired, but I can still go out. So to you, are these two completely interchangeable?
That's a tricky one. They're very close, but to me, kinda implies a bit more of a greater degree than sorta. So kinda cold suggests it's definitely chilly.
Oh.
While sorta tired could just mean, you feeling a little sleepy.
So there are subtle distinctions. Good to keep in mind. What about y'all? This one seems to have some regional flavor to it.
Definitely. Y'all, of course, is a contraction of you all, and it's super iconic in the southern United States.
Yeah, I can hear it now.
Right. But, it's interesting because I think it's spreading to other areas, too.
Really?
Yeah. I think a lot of that is probably because of its use in popular music.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And on social media and things like that.
It's amazing how language spreads. Okay, now, ain't. This one could be a little, tricky to navigate. It's that very informal way of saying am not, is not, are not, have not, has not, basically a lot of nots. The guide gives us the example, he can't come into the party. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, ain't has a long and complicated history, right? But in a lot of contexts, it's considered, well, grammatically incorrect.
Right.
And it can even sound uneducated.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it's definitely one to, use with caution.
Agreed. All right, how about bet, which has become like this super popular way to say, okay, like you agree with something.
Right.
Like you want to grab lunch, bet.
Oh, yeah, I hear that one all the time.
Me too. It feels very current.
It does. Bet has become super popular in recent years, especially among younger generations. It's like it conveys that sense of enthusiasm, like you're totally on board with whatever was just said.
Like a verbal high five, almost.
Exactly. I like that.
All right, next we have busted, meaning basically caught doing something wrong. The example is he got busted for cheating on the test. This one definitely has a little more drama to it, don't you think?
Yeah, it does. And it shows how colloquialisms often draw on imagery.
Oh, interesting.
And metaphor, busted evokes that sense of being exposed. Caught red-handed, like, oh no.
Now for chill, meaning to relax, stay calm. The example here is, let's just chill at home tonight. I feel like this is such a versatile word. What do you think?
I'd agree with that. It is really versatile. You can use it as a verb, an adjective, even a noun. It reflects a certain attitude, like a laid-back attitude and that desire to, like, just take things easy.
Chill is definitely a vibe. Okay, how about no biggie, meaning, no problem, don't worry about it. Example, thanks for helping, no biggie. This is one of my go-to phrases. What about you?
Oh, yeah, it's a great one. It's a nice way to kind of downplay a situation, make someone feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Show you're easygoing.
Totally. All right, ready for a few rapid-fire colloquialisms?
Hit me.
Okay, first up is bummer, meaning disappointment. Short and sweet, like that's a bummer. Then we have hangry, that perfect blend of hangry and angry, like, I'm so hangry right now. I think we've all been there at some point.
Oh, for sure. That feeling when your stomach is grumbling and your mood just plummets.
Exactly. It's such a relatable feeling, isn't it? Okay, how about crush it, meaning to do something really well, like you crush that presentation. It's a great way to, like, pump someone up.
It is. It's so encouraging,
All right, now for crash, meaning to sleep, but kind of suddenly, usually because you're super tired. The example is, I'm going to crash early tonight, and then we have wrap up, meaning to finish something, like, okay, let's wrap up this meeting.
That's a good one for signaling, that it's time to move on.
Definitely.
Include that task or whatever you're doing.
Absolutely. Now for one of my favorites, spill the tea, which basically means to share some juicy gossip, like, come on, spill the tea.
Yeah, I love that one. It's so playful. It speaks to our fascination, I think, with stories.
Oh, yeah.
And secrets.
Absolutely. Then there's hyped, meaning excited, full of energy. Example, I'm hyped for the game.
Contagious energy.
Exactly. All right, what about flaky? This one means unreliable, as in she's so flaky she cancels plans all the time. It's not the most flattering adjective, but it's definitely good to know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's not exactly a compliment, is it?
Not really.
But it does describe someone who's, well, inconsistent,
right?
Unreliable, letting others down.
Yeah, not the best quality. Okay, last few. Hit up, meaning to contact someone, like, I'll hit you up later.
Casual and friendly.
Totally. And last but not least, we have that classic slang word dope, which just means cool or awesome. Example, that new movie is dope. What do you think about this one?
I like it. Dope is super versatile,
Yeah.
You can use it for anything, music, fashion, experiences.
So true. So we've just explored 24 awesome colloquialisms. What stands out to you from all these words and phrases?
What really fascinates me is how these seemingly simple words and phrases act as windows into a culture. Like they reveal so much about our values, our humor, our shared experiences.
Like they're little cultural fingerprints. Each one tells a story.
Exactly. And they're constantly evolving too,
Oh, yeah.
New colloquialisms popping up all the time.
Right.
Driven by like younger generations and influenced by things like social media and pop culture.
That makes me wonder, what does this constant evolution of language, what does it mean for someone who is learning English, as a second language?
That's a good question. I think it means that, mastering the language goes beyond just textbooks and those formal grammar rules.
Right.
It's about immersing yourself in the real world,
Yeah.
the way it's spoken, written by native speakers. And that definitely includes embracing these like colorful colloquialisms.
Exactly. So where do you even begin with that? Like, how can you start incorporating these words and phrases into your own speech without feeling, awkward, self-conscious?
That's a good point. I'd say start small,
Yeah.
and focus on building confidence. Like, pay attention to how these words are used in, movies,
Yeah.
music, podcasts, even just like everyday conversations that you hear.
Yeah.
Maybe try using a few with friends or family who can give you feedback, help you get comfortable with them.
Like anything, the more you practice, the more natural it'll become. Don't be afraid to just experiment and have fun with it.
Exactly. Language is a tool for connection, expression.
Yeah.
So, embrace the richness, the diversity of English, Don't shy away from these colloquialisms. They're a big part of what makes the language so vibrant, engaging.
Absolutely. Well, folks, you've just leveled up your English vocabulary with these 24 awesome colloquialisms, ready to add some personality and flair to your conversations. But here's one last thought for you to ponder. We've talked a lot about how language is constantly evolving.
Right.
So what new colloquialisms have you noticed lately? Maybe in your own interactions or, in the media that you consume. Where do you think they came from, and how might they be shaping the way we speak? Keep your ear open, stay curious, and keep diving deep into the ever-changing world of language.
I love that. Keep exploring. It's really amazing, how these little words can tell us so much about how we connect.
True.
How we communicate as a culture.
It's like each one is a little puzzle piece.
Right.
That helps us see the bigger picture.
Exactly. And these pieces, they're always shifting, changing, Think about how technology, social media, they've completely changed the way we speak.
Definitely.
Just in the last few years, new words popping up all the time.
So true. It seems like for anyone learning English, mastering these colloquialisms, it's key to really understanding the language.
Absolutely. It's about going beyond the textbook, right?
Yeah.
And immersing yourself in how English is actually spoken, how people use it in the real world.
So where do you even start with that? How can someone start incorporating these colloquialisms into their own speech without feeling self-conscious?
Well, I think the first step is just to pay attention, really listen to how native speakers are using these words and phrases.
Yeah.
Whether it's in movies, music, podcast, or just everyday conversations. Try to pick up on those subtle ways that they use these expressions to convey meaning and emotion.
It's like training your ear to recognize those little gems,
Exactly. And then don't be afraid to try them out yourself,
Yeah.
Start with a few that feel comfortable and go from there.
It's all about practice.
Yeah.
Building that confidence.
Exactly. Just learning any new skill. And remember, language is a living, breathing thing. It's constantly changing. So just, enjoy the ride.
Absolutely. Well, folks, we've explored 24 awesome colloquialisms. You're ready to add some personality and flair to your conversations. But as we wrap up, here's a final thought for you. As language continues to evolve, what new colloquialisms have you noticed? Where do you think they came from? How are they changing the way we communicate? Keep exploring, stay curious, and keep diving deep into the fascinating world of language. 6CDR.